Hello. Oh, I forgot to put my other rubber band in. Hello, everybody. Sorry. No, 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 no. Go. What? Hey. All right, I'll give you guys a second. Hold on. All right, how is everybody? Let's go. Hey from Tampa. How's everybody doing? Yeah, okay. So I'm as right as the mail. So I actually tried wiping my face off before this because a lot of people were like, your face is oily, your face is greasy. So I am wearing sunscreen. I always wear sunscreen, otherwise I would be burnt. But I actually did try to wipe my face before I came on here since people were giving me shit about it, but it still looks oily. But it's not though. I wiped it. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what you want. I don't know what you want. Okay. The shiny comments will attack you no matter what. Yeah, that's actually a really good point, Mohammed. People who are going to have a problem with that is like. Also, I feel like part of it is the light. Like I'm using a ring light, so the ring light I feel like makes it look more oily or whatever, but it's too dark if I don't use the ring light. You know what I mean? So, did you guys oh my gosh, I say way too much. I was trying to edit this the other day and I realized how much I said That was the other thing that people were giving otherwise can't see. Yeah. Some people were like giving me shit for the fact that like I don't have a really professional setup and my editing isn't very good. And I was like, dudes, like I don't have the resources to like have a really nice setup. Like I'm using my webcam. I don't have a separate camera. And I also don't have a editor. Like people a lot who have podcasts and stuff that do YouTube and stuff, they have editors that go through and edit all their videos and make them look really nice. I don't have the resources for that either. So after I make videos, I spend hours and hours trying to edit them. And I'm not a professional editor. I'm not a really good editor. So I just have to work with what I have and I try to edit them to the best of my ability, but I'm not that good at it. So anyway, I'm just saying, like, to the people who were criticizing me about that, just cut me some slack. I am trying. I am new to the whole YouTube live thing. I'm not a professional editor and I'm trying to work with what I have. Thank you, Mohammed. All right, so let's get into the news. Let's talk about what's happening to do with everything. What's going on? I know that you guys probably it takes people years. Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Justin. Thank you. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, eventually, I would like to get to the point where I can create very curated pretty backgrounds or editing or whatever, but I'm just not in that place right now. Yeah. So anyway, one of the things, so I want to talk about what's going on in the news. I don't know if you guys had any specific topics you want to talk about. I did want to go over the Hillary Clinton video on Morning Blow. That was very, very obnoxious and very out of touch. And, typical Hillary Clinton. She's always out of touch. She's always obnoxious, so there was that. But I don't know if there's anything else that and updates. I don't know if there was an update from the ICJ. Was there an update? Egypt. Yes. We need to talk about that. Egypt getting involved in the ICJ case. Great. Now I'm all self-conscious of my oil. Yeah, it was so condescending. It was so embarrassing. I need like a... I know. I saw the Piers Morgan thing, Mohammed, on I don't remember when I saw it, yesterday or whatever. And Rania Khalek was on there. I think that's her name. And Piers Morgan, of course, was like, I know. But do you condemn Hamas? But do you condemn Hamas? Oh man, I would love to go on Piers Morgan. I would love to go on Piers Morgan. But do you condemn Hamas? We should all donate to get Blakely a new home studio set. Yeah, I'm with the yes, Mo. Specifically to the people who were criticizing me for it and giving me shit. Oil is the root of all evil. The Israeli Nazi side, the UN shredding the UN charter was pathetic. Oh my gosh, I know. We have to watch that too. You know what I noticed though? One of the things that has really revealed what a sham international law is. Like all of this, that the ICJ, the what do you call it? I don't know why I'm losing my train of thought. I don't know why. I also feel like super anxious today. So if I'm like that, like that's why. I don't know why I feel very anxious. Like I have an anxiety disorder, so sometimes it just pops off more than other times. So the UN, that's what I was thinking of. Okay. All right. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the ICJ and the UN. So Justin, I can't smoke a bowl because I'm in recovery. I'm an addict. Otherwise, I would. I'm actually coming up in July. I'll have 10 years sober. So congratulations to me. Yeah, weed counts because for people like me, everything leads back to alcohol. Like that's how it is for me. Hey, AK. Thanks, Cher. Oh, yes, we can talk about that too, Tamir, the Congress members that threatened the ICJ members. I made a video about that, but I think I only put it on TikTok. The Lush Farm. Nice. 21 years sober. Congratulations. The Turkish president said that Hitler would be envious of Netanyahu. Seriously? LOL, Erdogan? LMAO. You know, what's really funny about that is that Turkey is ostensibly one of our allies. So, yeah. Thank you, Melody. Okay, so we will get to that, you guys. We'll get to that. We'll get to the ICJ. We'll get to the UN and all those losers. So keep those notes in your head. The first thing I do want to do, though, is make fun of the Hillary Clinton clip because it was so ridiculous and embarrassing and deserves to be made fun of. Okay? Erdogan is an actor. True! And I really wanted to also make fun of the Kristi Noem clips because they were so funny. Did you guys see that Kristi Noem canceled the rest of her book tour because she kept getting roasted over murdering her dog? I feel like people didn't think that was as funny as I think it was. I thought that was hilarious. The fact that she just kept trying to get from under Cricket Gate, and then no one was letting it go. Everybody was making a big deal about it to the point where she actually canceled her appearance on a Fox News show. Like Fox, right-wing Fox, MAGA Fox. She canceled an appearance on there because she was so upset that people wouldn't stop talking about it, which was amazing. Amazing. All right. I need a computer thing too, eventually. Okay, let's go in. Okay, so we're gonna watch the Hillary Clinton thing first and make fun of it. I gotta share the screen. Just a reminder to everybody before we get started to please subscribe to my YouTube if you're already not. Join my Ko-Fi if you want to be a member, if you can be a member, and feel free to send super chats or anything while we do this. And of course, please support the channel. All right. No one likes Hillary stuff. Who actually likes Hillary Clinton? Literally no one. Okay. Let's see. Propaganda is not education. All right, guys, once I start playing this, because as I've told you before, I don't have a separate monitor, so I'm just using my laptop. Let me know that you can hear it. Bill don't even like her ass. True.
Yeah, what I'm about to talk to you about happened before October 7th. I'm going to talk
Here?
about radicalism on college campuses. Sort of radicalism that has mainstream students
Oh my gosh.
getting propaganda, whether it's from their professors
thanks,
or
guys.
whether it's from communist Chinese government through TikTok, calling the president of the United States
Oh my God.
Genocide Joe.
I hope you guys,
Calling you.
again, I hope you guys don't mind as I'm doing this that I pause a lot because I know that sometimes that can be annoying or whatever, but like we have to pause because we have to make fun of this. They are such boomers. They are such boomers. Oh, college campuses were already getting radicalized by Chinese propaganda through tic-tac-toe. Oh my gosh. It is so... I know, 5 seconds in already, bingo, October 7th. Oh, which by the way, I forgot to tell you guys, sorry, before we got into this, to join my Discord. I put my Discord in the community tab of my YouTube because we were talking about the other day that we were going to make a Hasbara bingo card, which we haven't started working on, but I just created Discord, so join it if you haven't. Hello, Elias from Morocco. Yeah, okay. So they're so embarrassing. You know what this reminds me of? You know what I love, though, actually, specifically about Morning Blow and all these other elites that are in DC and New York in the media, is that they fancy themselves truth tellers, right? They fancy themselves truth tellers. They fancy themselves as the type of people that would have marched with Martin Luther King, that would have supported the sit-ins, the lunch counter sit-ins. They would have opposed South Africa's apartheid and blah, 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 blah. That's how they view themselves, guardians of democracy. But they're not. They literally sound exactly like the people in the 60s and in the 80s. They sound exactly like the white moderates in the 60s and in the 80s that would say, okay, sure, maybe people shouldn't be so racist and we don't like the KKK, but like, can't they protest in a better way? Can't Black people like not disrupt traffic on the bridge? You shouldn't just go sit at a lunch counter. There are better ways to protest. Why are these college kids protesting South Africa's apartheid? Radicals. Why are they so radical? It's literally that. People said the exact same thing about the civil rights movement and about the South Africa apartheid protests. They said the exact same thing. And now we are in 2024, and these elites, these DC brain worm fucking elites are the same people that would say those things, but they see themselves as progressive now. They see themselves as progressives who stand up for democracy and care about the truth and being on the right side of history. You know, they're on the right side of history, but they're not on the right side of history. They're not, because they are the same people that would have sided with the segregationists, or at the very least, the moderates that didn't want to do anything in the 60s. And they're the same people that would have cried and whined about Hamilton Hall being occupied, which it was in the 80s during South Africa's apartheid. So that's them. The most insufferable part of it, though, is that they don't see themselves that way. They don't think that they're those people. They don't think that they're the fucking boomers who are the ones getting in the way of progress. So that's them. Okay. And then he's like, the Communist Party coming through TikTok. Get out of here. This is so embarrassing. So embarrassing. And by the way, yeah, I also love this too. We need to talk about propaganda. Yeah, you would know a thing or two about propaganda, wouldn't you? Because that's all our media does, is spew propaganda. And another question I would like for them to answer, okay? Why are they talking about the dangers of foreign propaganda getting into our colleges? And they are so concerned about foreign propaganda getting to the youths. But none of them have a problem with a foreign government, Israel, spreading massive amounts of propaganda through every single media outlet that we have. None of them. We're so concerned about foreign governments and foreign interference in our elections, right? So concerned. But they have no problem with a foreign government in Israel spreading propaganda and influencing our elections by buying our politicians and running out politicians that they don't like through AIPAC. Okay? So I bring that up. I know you guys know that, but I bring that up to say you should disregard everything they say about other countries. And their faux concern about American national security. They're so concerned about America's national security. No, they're not. It is just about what propaganda they want disseminated. They want you to be brainwashed. It's just about who you get brainwashed by. Do you get brainwashed by the Chinese Communist Party? Do you get brainwashed by Israeli propaganda and American U.S. corporate propaganda? So just remember that anytime you hear any of these jackals talking about Russia or talking about Syria or talking about China, remember that. Remember that. Okay. Yeah, exactly. It's totally insane. Okay, so right out the gate, totally insufferable, totally embarrassing.
And President Clinton, war criminals, actually stopping the naming of a building after Madeleine Albright because they claim.
First of all, I don't want to hear about Madeleine Albright because Madeleine Albright is also a war criminal. Okay. But I also love how Joe Scarborough is so self-righteous. He's like a professional wrong person, and yet he is always so self-righteous.
Professors claim, some of the same professors that took part in the most radical elements of the protests over the past couple of weeks, called Madeleine Albright a war criminal.
She is.
And we're still waiting for the building for Foreign Service to be renamed after Madeleine Albright. Here we have first Secretary of State. That's a woman.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, in that case, this is how brain poisoned these people are. So he's upset because she was the first woman Secretary of State, and people called her a war criminal. She is a war criminal. Oh, but she's a woman. Oh, but she's a woman. Well, I guess in that case, the fact that she's a war criminal that has probably millions of bodies and blood on her hands, but don't say anything because she's a woman, okay? This is such embarrassing imperialism, imperialist white feminist, yes, queening. Oh my gosh. gosh.
Made history, just like you made history. But you've got mainstream college students. I know, because I've talked to a lot of college students over the past year or two. They have this radicalized view.
Did it ever occur to any of you boomers in the legacy media that maybe the reason why the college students feel that way is because they actually are educated and know what's going on, and their teachers feel that way because they're teachers and educated and know what's going on? But go off.
Of the Middle East, a radicalized view of American public servants like yourself, Madeleine Albright, President Clinton, Joe Biden, can name Republican presidents as well. And there's this radicalization. And I just want to know.
I also would like to point out, too, that to Joe Scarborough, Americans waking up and calling out genocide and looking at American imperialism and starting to connect the dots, to him, that's radicalism. To Joe Scarborough, radicalism is connecting the dots and calling out genocide. 100%, 100% scurvy. 100%. They have not talked to any college student that isn't like the daughter of Bill Ackman or some shit.
First of all, it's distressing. What do we do about it so public servants aren't taught?
I'll tell you what we do about it. They're going to continue to crush speech. That's what they're doing about it. We did a stream about it. What, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, and went over the bill? Or did do a stream with you guys about that, right? About the bill that they passed in Congress to basically ban free speech and make pretty much everything anti-Semitic and a crime. So when he's like, what do we do about it? Her answer, and all of their answer, is crush speech. That's their answer. Crush speech. Ban TikTok. Regulate Meta and other social media platforms even more than they already are. Crush college students. Kick off their student groups. Fire teachers. And crush speech by making it illegal to criticize Israel. This whole episode, this whole genocide in Gaza has really, I don't know for you guys if you feel this way, but for me, has really pulled the mask off of what an insane lie all of the international community is, all of international law and the rules-based order, and all of the so-called free speech that we have in this country. I knew our country was corrupt. I knew it wasn't really a democracy, that our country is bought and paid for by corporations and billionaires. Yeah, of course, I knew all that. But I certainly didn't know the extent of control that the Israeli lobby had over our country. That was newer to me. And how much our politicians were willing. Our politicians in the U.S., how many of them were willing to sell out their own country for a foreign country? How many of our own politicians were willing to sell out their own country, our own values, our free speech rights on behalf of the Israeli regime? That I did not know. And this has been very illuminating. And same with the international community. What a farce international law is with everything that's come out.
That American leaders are war criminals.
True.
Joe Biden's not Genocide Joe, quite the opposite. And secondly,
Genocide joke.
the stupidity of the slogans that ignore all the history since 1948 about what the United States has tried to do, about what you tried to do, about what President Clinton tried to do in bringing a two-state solution about. I remember when you talked about a two-state solution and it was considered radical. They couldn't believe, oh my God, Hillary Clinton actually is talking about a two-state solution. She hates Israel. And now that.
You know what's really funny is that he just said, when you were standing up for the truth, he's trying to give her a compliment. When you were standing up for the truth, it was considered radical. You just called the students radicals. So you're giving her a compliment by saying that she was on. What he's saying is, you were on the right side of history, Hill, and they called you radical. Maybe you should think about your choice of words, Joe, because you're now calling students protesting against genocide radical, okay? So think about how that's going to age. Also, I love how smug she is. I love how Hillary Clinton is butthurt that she didn't win when, like, she's so smug and insufferable. He's sitting there kissing her ass because, of course, for those of you who are not in the United States, the job of the press is supposedly supposed to be to hold power accountable, but actually it's just to give them a tongue bath. They want access to our politicians, and they want to be able to interview them, and they want to go to the same cocktail parties, and they want to hang out with each other's kids and families. So it's all about ass kissing. That's what journalists do in this country. They don't speak truth to power. They kiss their ass. So here he is kissing her ass. Just, you're so great, Hillary. Everything you and Bill Clinton did, which they didn't, by the way. And she's sitting there with her smug ass being all, told you so. I told you so. I wonder why she didn't win, you know? Maybe because she's literally the most insufferable person on the planet.
That's been flipped to you're a war criminal. Madeleine Albright's a war criminal. Bill Clinton's a war criminal. Joe Biden. It's disgusting. And I want you to tell us what needs to be done, what you would hope would be done, one. Number two, how do we get Madeleine Albright's name on that building? Because she's been slandered in death. She's been slandered in death. A public servant who escaped the Holocaust, gave her entire life to the United States of America, and has been slandered in death by extremists, I'm sorry, funded by Qatar. And number three, I told you we were moving past therapy session. And number three, maybe this will get on YouTube if the communist Chinese will allow it to get on YouTube. Please tell any students watching.
I'm sorry, what? Maybe this will get on YouTube if the communist Chinese let it get on YouTube. YouTube is an American-owned company. Chinese communists, these people have brain worms. Seriously, they really do. These people have brain worms. They think that YouTube is controlled by the communists. I don't know. Everybody should know their history, right? Like, we know that generally. People should know history. But this is literally McCarthyism 2.0. Like, I was watching a documentary about the Cold War recently, and it was so similar to what is happening now, where everything is called communism. Only this time, it's China and Russia that they're doing it with, not just Russia like it was before. Everything is Red Scare, communism, it's under the bed, it's in YouTube. I just love the idea that they have a monopoly on the media, but they think that the Chinese Communist Party is controlling YouTube. Bro, the mainstream media, the corporate media, and the Zionists have control over our media. But they think that the Chinese Communist Party has control over YouTube. Okay. And also, sorry, one more thing. When they say funded by Qatar, you notice that they never talk about all the shit that's funded by the Israeli regime. Yeah, that's convenient. That's convenient. It's funded by Qatar. Are we going to talk about AIPAC lobbyists who fund them? No? Okay.
What President Clinton and you put together in 2000 in the Oslo Accords, you gave the Palestinians a pathway to peace, and they were scared to take it because they knew they would be slaughtered by Hamas.
Wow, I don't know where to start, Joe, but you
Go ahead.
yeah, okay.
I need help.
Well, I want to make a couple of quick.
Yikes. Ugh, that's so vomitous. She's like, that was like so gross. Like it was all the glad handing between them, like ass kissing to each other. I don't know where to start, Joe, because you're just so smart and on point. Ugh.
Points because you raised things that need to be vented about. First of all,
So delusional.
I have had many conversations, as you have had.
I know all of our media is incredibly out of touch. I know. All of our media, corporate media, mainstream media is incredibly out of touch and elitist, but I'm not sure that there is a single show on TV that is more out of touch and elitist than Morning Blow. Like the most smug and out of touch.
With a lot of young people over the last many months now. And you're right. They don't know very much at all about the history of the Middle East, or frankly, about history in many areas of the world, including in our own country. But with respect to the Middle East, they don't know that under the bringing together of the Israelis and the Palestinians.
They don't know anything about the history of the Middle East, nor do they know anything about American history. We're talking about some of the most educated people in the world. These students going to the Ivy Leagues are some of the most educated people in the world. They know about American history, and most of them know a lot more about the Middle East and its history than most people. Maybe she doesn't want to acknowledge that they know about Middle East history because then they might find out what she did in Libya.
By my husband, the then Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak, the then head of the Palestinian Liberation Organization, then the Palestinian Authority, Yasser Arafat. An offer was made to the Palestinians for a state on 96% of the existing territory occupied by the Palestinians, with 4% of Israel to be given to reach 100% of the amount of territory that was hoped for.
That's
and
not
this
even
offer
what
was
happened.
made. And if Yasser Arafat had accepted it, there would have been a Palestinian state now for about 24 years. It's one of the great tragedies of history that he was unable to say yes. My husband has a book coming out later this year, Joe, in which he talks about how Arafat kept saying he intended to agree, he wanted to agree, but he was, as you rightly point out, pretty sure he'd be killed because Sadat was killed by extremists when he made peace with Israel. Our dear, dear friend, Yitzhak Rabin, was killed by a radical Israeli when he was pursuing the two-state solution. So this is a very important piece of history to understand if you're going to take any kind of position with respect to what's going on right now. And there's much more that we could go into, as you say, since 1948, but I mean, you could literally go back thousands of years. The important point I want to emphasize, though, is propaganda is not education. Propaganda on whether it's TikTok or in the classroom is actually the opposite of education. Anybody who is teaching in a university or anyone who is...
Indeed, Hillary Clinton, propaganda is not education, and it is exactly what you're doing right now and exactly what Morning Blow is doing right now. Because the version of what happened with the Oslo Accords that she tells is not how it happened. They always leave out the insane concessions that the Palestinians were told to make to get their state. And it wasn't even a state that was being offered. Not a state the way we think about it. That's not what they were being offered. It's just a lie in revisionist history.
Putting content on social media should be held responsible for what they include and what they exclude. And so much of what we're seeing, particularly on TikTok, about...
Is that a threat? Yeah, that's a threat. That's a threat. They should be held responsible for what they put on TikTok and what they put on in the classrooms, the teachers. You know what they're saying? I like how she's like, they should be held responsible. So she's basically saying that like we need to threaten them, that if they don't repeat our propaganda, there will be consequences for them. If they don't repeat our lies and our Western narrative and propaganda, there will be consequences for them. Absolutely insane. Rotten Ruby just followed you on Spotify. Absolutely loving it. Thank you, Rotten Ruby. Thank you. I'm working on a song right now. It takes me a little while, though, because I am not the best at technology. Yeah, held responsible, like a threat. It's amazing. My gosh.
What's going on in the Middle East is woefully false, but it's also incredibly slanted, pro-Hamas, anti-Israel. And it is, not any place where anyone should go to get information about complex matters like what is going on there. So we have to do a much better job.
What she's saying is people shouldn't go to their teachers to learn about what's happening in Gaza. You got that? She's saying people should not be going to their teachers at their Ivy League schools who are actually teaching about the Palestinians to get their education. They should be going to who instead? You? A lying war criminal? Students should be, people, if they want education about what is happening in Gaza, should not go to their teachers who are teaching about it. They should go to you, a lying war criminal and your propagandist friend, Joe Scarborough. This is insane. This is absurd. And the other thing she's saying is you shouldn't let other people who are regular people talk about what's happening. Because what do we see on TikTok? We see regular people just sharing. That's democracy. We see regular people just talking to each other and sharing. She wants that to not be allowed. She doesn't want us hearing from Palestinians that live in Gaza. She doesn't want us to hear from Arabs that live in other Arab countries in the surrounding region and for us to hear their perspective, because that's how I learned a lot, was by listening to just regular people that lived in places like Qatar and Egypt and Jordan, and just listening to their perspectives and what life was like for them. She doesn't want that. Twitwit wrote, she's not relevant. Well, I wish that were the case, but unfortunately, she won't go away. And who is relevant in this country is who has money and power. And unfortunately, she still has money and power. So unfortunately, she won't go away. So unfortunately, she's still relevant.
Job in trying to, number one, teach history at all levels. That's why I love SUFS, because it's about our history. It's a part of history we didn't all study and learn about. But it's also important that we recognize the propaganda value of social media. People are on social media oftentimes to press an agenda, an ideological, a religious, a financial, a political, a partisan agenda. And so, of course, you don't get the facts. Of course, you don't get any kind of context. And we have to do a better job ourselves. And we certainly have to do a better job with young people in trying to help them understand how to filter and interpret the information they're giving. And I think we also need to do a better job in our classrooms, particularly at the college and university level, not to fall into, easy absolutes. You're either this or you're that. You're for, you're against. Life is too complicated. History certainly is. So I agree that we've got to do something to, stand against a lot of these false narratives. And with respect to my dear friend, Madeleine Albright, She deserves to have anything and everything named for her.
Yes.
She lived
Yes.
the 20th century. She
Oh my
fled
gosh.
first from the Nazis.
Yes.
She
Yes.
lived the 20th. Stand against
That
a
was like
lot
an
of these
orgasm.
false narratives. And with
Yeah.
respect to my dear friend Madeleine Albright, she deserves to have anything and everything named for her.
Yes.
She
Yeah.
lived the 20th century. She
embarrassing.
fled first from the Nazis, and then after returning to what was Czechoslovakia with her family, she had to flee the Soviet communists. She exemplifies what freedom means.
What freedom means. Blah. Oh my gosh. And the reason why I get worried about stuff like this, because somebody wrote earlier, Hillary Clinton is irrelevant or something like that. But that's not true. We have to recognize our enemy and their power, just like we have to be able to recognize our power when we stand together collectively. When she says we have to do something about the students in the classroom and do something about social media, they mean ban it and control it. Ban it and control it. Control what you see, control what you hear. They don't want us listening to each other. They don't want us having communication with each other. They don't want someone like me to hear the perspective of a Palestinian person living in Gaza. They don't want people like me, a Western white American, to hear the perspective of somebody who is living in Egypt who fled from Palestine. Why? Because it connects us. It puts a human face to what is happening and lets a person like me understand and get educated about the experience of those people, as opposed to when I was a kid and 9/11 happened and we went into Iraq. Those were just numbers. Those were just numbers. And all I would hear was, they're terrorists, they're terrorists. They hate us because they hate us. They hate us because of our freedoms. He specifically said that. They hate us because they hate us. They hate us because of Christianity. They hate us because of our freedoms. So if you're a kid and you're propagandized by the media and you don't have social media and you can't listen to the perspectives of other people, then you are trained to not think that their voices matter or their experience. You just hear they're terrorists and they hate us because of our freedoms. And who's going to tell you otherwise? Right? Who's going to tell you otherwise? If you're a white American living somewhere in the West, okay, in America, in Ohio, and you don't see an Arab person, you don't see a Palestinian person, you don't see the genocide being live streamed, and all you hear is they hate you, they're terrorists, they're Muslim radicals, they hate you because of your freedom, they hate you because you're Christian. Who's going to tell you that that's not true? If you are only in that bubble and you don't have access to real media sources, you don't have access to listen to their voices. That's what they want. That is what they want to go back to. Because when I was a kid and 9/11 happened, I was terrified of Arab and Muslim people. I was so scared of Arab and Muslim people because I didn't know any Muslim people or Arab people. And all I would see in the news and in the media and in pop culture were scary Muslim people who wanted to commit suicide bombings. That is why this matters. Because it was through education, understanding, alternative media, meeting people, seeing genocide, seeing Arab and Muslim people talk in their own experience, that made me understand how much I had been lied to, and the fear-mongering and the brainwashing and the Islamophobia that I had internalized that I didn't even know that I had. So when she says we need to do something about these people, that is what she is talking about. She wants us to go back to the days where you can't get media that is not filtered through their power. That's what they want. They want to go back to the days or advance into the coming days where all the media that you see, all the social media you see, all the propaganda coming out of mainstream and corporate media that you see is coming from approved voices, is coming from approved sources. They want it filtered through Western and Israeli media and sources. That's what they want. They want it all filtered through Western imperialist Zionist sources. So that's, just know that when she says we need to do something about it, that is exactly what they mean and what they want. They want all of us to only be able to see the things that are approved by Zionists. And the reason why it matters is because they do have the power to do it. They do. Unless we stand up together and push back against them. Unless we stand up together and refuse to accept it. Refuse to accept them forcing us what we're allowed to say, what we're allowed to do, what kind of social media apps we're allowed to use, and what we're allowed to say on those social media apps. We need to stand together to remind these people that the power of the people is stronger than the people in power if we use it. That is the way. Otherwise, they will win. Otherwise, they will have the power. Because they have the power to shut down speech, to shut down certain voices on media, and to shut down things like TikTok. But we have the power, if we all come together collectively, to push back on that, because there's more of us than there are of them.
He demonstrates what a great refuge America has been for people seeking freedom. And heaven forbid, if we don't protect this democracy, this Constitution, our values, our institutions against false narratives, against demagogic, wannabe authoritarian leaders, shame on us. But let's not forget people who helped us get to where we are and where I hope we will always be here in this country. And Madeleine Albright was certainly one of those whom I admire greatly.
Blah. Oh my gosh, that was insufferable. That was insufferable. Oh my gosh. Right, what democracy? They're literally trying to ban speech here. Literally. All right, somebody earlier in the chat. Okay, so that was that. I don't need to rant anymore about that. You guys get what I was trying to say. She's disgusting. She's a war criminal. Madeleine Albright is a war criminal. Joe Scarborough is just a mouthpiece and a propagandist for the Zionists and the Western elite. Got it. And they want to shut down our speech. And they want to make our speech illegal. And they want to make it so that we can't say, do, or act on anything unless it is first approved by them. But we are not going to accept that, okay? We are not going to accept that. None of us. None of us. Total scumbags. All right, somebody earlier about... Somebody earlier asked about the ICJ clip, that there was a clip from the ICJ in Egypt. Does anybody have a link to that clip? Or about the guy ripping up the UN thing? Yeah, we're not going to let them control what we see anymore. Nope. Does anybody have that? Yeah, the shredder. Does anybody have that? Did you see the CNN report about the concentration camps, the Palestinians? Yes, I did. And it was horrific. We can watch that if you guys want instead of the ICJ one.
It's a place the Israeli military doesn't want us to see.
That's the start.
Who are you? Give me please now. Hang on, what is it that you want? My camera or my card?
But CNN has gained exclusive evidence of Palestinian prisoner abuse from multiple Israeli whistleblowers. At the Sedi Taman facility in southern Israel, we joined human rights activists amid growing public concern for the detainees being held inside. This is a protest by Israeli citizens outside a detention center close to Gaza, where we know hundreds of Palestinians have been held. You can see it's a closed military facility. It's behind a barbed wire fence. We're not permitted access.
This is insanity. I don't know how many of you guys saw it. Yeah, I'm actually surprised that they even aired this, because I don't know if you guys remember, but a little while back there was a report that came out that said that CNN actually had top-down orders not to talk about Gaza in a favorable light. So, like, it's crazy that they even did this. I wish Al Jazeera channel would interview you. Yeah, I would love for them to interview me too. Al Jazeera actually took one of my videos and did like a TikTok on it and posted it, but I've never been asked to be interviewed by them. People will say things like that to me and be like, oh, you should go on Piers Morgan, or you should go on the Young Turks, you should go on Al Jazeera. I would love to, you guys, but they haven't reached out to me or asked me to. So I feel like the way to like get onto something like that is to have like you tag me in their post and say like, hey, you should have this person on. Because again, I would love to go on there, but you know, I would need people to say like, hey, you should have this person on. Otherwise, they're not just going to like randomly invite me. Yeah, you're right. Black Soul, they're going to call it Hamas.
And there's hostility from passers-by.
We just had somebody drive past in a car and they shouted out to us in Hebrew,
Yeah.
you're defending murderers.
No,
You're defending
no,
animals,
we're
terrorists."
defending basic human rights.
And eyewitnesses are now speaking out. Away from the military facility near the beaches of Tel Aviv, one young Israeli army reservist agreed to speak about scores of detainees at Sedi Taman. He says are kept in cages or pens.
Cages and
constantly
pens.
shackled and blindfolded, many for weeks on end. We've hidden his identity and voice to shield him from prosecution.
We were told they are not allowed to move and must sit upright. They're not allowed to talk or peek under their blindfolds.
And what happened if they did do that? What kind of punishments would we?
This is so insane. Zach, can you not send the link here to this chat? It won't let you? I see what you're saying, Anonymous, but I still think it would be funny. You know what I'd want to do if I were to go on Piers Morgan? I would love to go on there and wear the Hamas, but do you condemn Hamas Piers Morgan shirt? Al Jazeera is not getting banned here. It got banned in Israel. Yeah, if you guys have a link you want to send me, try sending it here because TikTok doesn't pick up. They're really bad with links.
We were allowed to pick out problematic people and punish them, having them stand with their hands above their heads.
Define
for an unlimited time.
problematic.
If they didn't keep their hands up, we could zip tie them to the fence.
The Israeli military says detainees are handcuffed based on their risk level and health status. but the account tallies with photographic evidence obtained by CNN of Palestinian detainees inside Sidi Taman,
Oh,
and with hand and wrist injuries shown to CNN by dozens of Palestinians released back into Gaza.
how long were they
Zip
tied
tied
up for?
and blindfolded, says this former detainee, and tortured in a way I never imagined. One source telling us the restraints were so tight they had to amputate a man's hand.
The view that I've heard expressed is that, how do you think Israeli hostages are treated by Hamas?
This sentiment was voiced in the facility, but I think that if Hamas is so abominable, which I agree with, then why use Hamas as a bar? It's a descent into dehumanization.
A descent that's accelerated since the rampage by Hamas on October the 7th last year. The killing and abduction to Gaza of hundreds of Israelis provoked outrage and a brutal response. Amid Israel's wrath, tens of thousands of Palestinians have been killed and thousands detained for interrogation, transported to facilities like Sidi Taman, where one Israeli guard now tells CNN prisoners are routinely beaten. We've hidden his identity and voice too.
You can take them out and hit them maybe 4 or 5 times with a club. It's not down in the face, so you don't see blood. The detainees lie belly down, being hit and kicked, people screaming and dogs barking at them. It's terrifying. Some detainees are taken away and beaten really hard, so bones and teeth are broken.
Oh my
You
gosh.
saw people who were subject to these beatings, who had their bones broken and who had their teeth broken.
Yes, it's a practice which commanders know about. They want intelligence, but they also want revenge and punishment for what happened on October 7th.
So you're gonna,
The Israeli military hasn't approved CNN's requests for access to
of course you didn't approve it. Of course they didn't approve it because they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. Yeah, seriously, imagine at this late date being pro-Israel, like for real. Yeah, and it's so disgusting because and deranged because these are just civilian men. But to be a man in Gaza means you're Hamas. To be a boy, because it's not just men that are in these prisons. They have arrested boys as young as 10 years old and put them in these prisons. Prisons, torture camps. I don't know, some might call them concentration camps. Like, literally, and just torture them. What is the purpose of that? Intelligence for what? This is not about Hamas. This is about revenge, dehumanization, and wanting to hurt the Palestinians for being Palestinian. Because if they were, as that guy actually correctly pointed out, if you really think Hamas are so terrible, then why are you lowering yourself to their standards? I thought you guys were the most moral army in the world. I thought I was informed that you guys were the most moral army in the world. But you guys are torturing people. You're torturing people. You're holding them in concentration camps. Not just men, boys. A boy that'll throw a rock, a 12-year-old boy that'll throw a rock. And by the way, they probably won't mention it in this, but there have been many reports of young boys being sexually assaulted at places like this by the Israelis, by the IOF.
Sidi Taman. At the gates of the facility, we challenged the Israeli guards.
How many Palestinians are in there right now?
I prefer not to answer it. Of course you don't. Of course you don't.
Blindfolded? No.
Oh, they're not blindfolded.
As we leave, masked soldiers approach.
Hello. How are you? I'm filming this first. It's perfectly of the army.
Oh.
So
Who are you, Gunson? I haven't seen it. Tried to take our cameras.
You know what's really scary is that there is a good chance that if it was not CNN, they might have killed them. They had no problem killing Shireen Abu Akleh, who was an American Palestinian journalist. Like, also, I love how Israel says that they're a democracy, but they're not talking to the press. The guy lies to him. He won't let him in. And then a soldier starts following him and getting in his face because he's recording. What? I thought you guys were a democracy, Playboy. What happened? What happened to the free press? Ah, right. Because It's a lie.
Give me please now. Give me please now. Hang on, what is it that you want? Can I write on my card?
Then order us to leave.
Oh, ooh.
Well, we're driving now to meet one Israeli with personal experience of the Sadeh Tayman facility. It's experience that he says has left him shocked at the condition and the medical treatment of Palestinian detainees there.
He told us he treated Palestinian detainees with gunshot wounds fresh from the war zone in Gaza.
I
He
thought
was
they didn't
appalled
target
at the lack of
civilians.
equipment and expertise.
The problem is, Gazans who are brought in are labeled as terrorists, and it is very popular opinion over here that terrorists deserve to die, so they do not deserve the same medical care as everyone else.
Satellite imagery obtained by CNN shows how the said
This is literally upside down world that we're living in. This is literally upside down world that we're living in. So they say terrorists do not deserve to have the same medical care as everybody else. But they say all of them are terrorists. So you see how they justify it? How they justify it? That's why you see those settlers standing outside of the crossing, protesting and blocking it so that aid can't get into children, so that aid can't get into hungry mothers. You don't have to treat a dying patient or a child or a teen or an adult, anybody with a gunshot wound. Why? Because they're terror. All of them are. So you don't need to treat them. You can just let them die. That's how they think. You think they're all terrorists. So that means, just like I was saying when we were talking about the Mossad, that deranged propagandist for the IOF, that paid spy, he kept saying that Palestine didn't exist. The Palestinians didn't exist. Well, if they don't exist, and if they're all terrorists, then it doesn't matter what you do to them, right? That's the definition. That is the definition of dehumanization. That is the definition of dehumanization. You make them so that they're not people and they're all terrorists, and thus you can do whatever you want to them.
Sadi Taman facility was expanded after the October 7th attacks, with detention facilities and makeshift medical bays being added after public hospitals in Israel refused to treat injured Gazan suspects. Eyewitness accounts describe a field hospital with 15 to 20 patients, virtually naked and blindfolded, with hands and feet shackled to their beds and wearing diapers. One eyewitness told CNN painful procedures were carried out by underqualified medics. Treatment the medical worker told us amounts to punishment.
In my view, it's the idea of total vulnerability. If you imagine being unable to move, being unable to see what's going on, that's something that borders, if not crosses, into psychological torture.
The Israeli military says prisoners
That
are stripped
does
for
cross.
security checks and that investigations are opened when there's suspicion of misconduct. Still, accounts from Israelis and Palestinians inside.
I love that. I love that. The obligatory investigation that Israel carries out into itself. They're always, you notice that? Weren't we still waiting for that investigation into what happened to Shireen Abu Akleh like 3 years ago? You'll notice that they're always carrying out investigations that never amount to anything. When have you seen someone there held to account, have to be accountable for what they've done to the Palestinians?
The shocking images paint a disturbing picture. Matthew.
Yeah, so of course they lie. They lie. They say they're not torturing them. They say that they're not performing medical procedures on them by underqualified people as punishment, which sounds a lot like the 1940s. And then they won't be interviewed. And if they are caught, they say, oh, we're investigating ourselves. Don't worry. Don't worry. Oh my gosh. This is... And they're denying it. They're denying it. And they just keep denying it, and the people are supporting it. And we're just all supposed to pretend that this isn't happening. This is terrorism. Because they love to use that word. They love to abuse that word. They love to call everyone and anyone, their mother and granddaughter, child and cat, a terrorist. But this is terrorism. Did one of you guys send me a link to the ICJ thing? Let me see if I can search it. I thought somebody sent me a link.
All right, guys, so we have a lot of big updates for you with regards to Israel. Let's put this first extraordinary development up on the screen. So Egypt now joining South Africa's case at the ICJ, which alleges that Israel is committing genocide against Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. Senior Israeli officials are describing this, I would say probably accurately, as a new low in relations between countries, certainly in recent history, post-peace agreement. Egypt's announcement, they say, is not expected to have a material effect on the ICJ's legal process, but reflects a new low. Israeli sources fear the ICJ may issue new orders against Israel as Operation in Rafah is having a major impact on access to humanitarian aid. Reporting suggests that Egypt's really quite extraordinary decision to join South Africa in their case at the ICJ has everything to do with the Israeli assault on Rafah and the fact that they have already invaded and taken control of the Rafah crossing on the Palestinian side. We've been reporting for months how Egypt has been raising red flag after red flag against about that potential incursion into Rafah, talking about what a provocation that would be, what a problem it would be for Egypt. And so in their letter,
yeah, but because you guys know that they were bombing one of the areas, I forget what it was called in Egypt, that was like Egypt's sovereign territory. Yeah, I kind of don't know what to make of Egypt, because Egypt joining the ICJ case on the one hand, I think is a good thing. Anybody who joins. But on the other hand, it's like Egypt also has a really corrupt government that collaborates with the US and the Israeli regime. So okay, you guys keep asking me about the ICJ case or the UN one. Let's watch that and then we'll go back to that. UN ambassador shreds.
This is your mirror.
No, I want a full screen.
Colleagues, today another travesty is being committed here by the General Assembly, an unforgivable act. The destruction of the United Nations Charter. The UN Charter, the sacred document which serves as the foundation.
This guy's so embarrassing already. First of all, you're mad? You're mad that the UN Charter, you're mad that they don't want you to keep carrying out a genocide, so you're going to rip it up? Be for real. You're mad that they want you to stop genociding the Palestinians, so you want to rip it up like a crybaby that you are, because Zionists are the biggest fucking crybullies. Oh my gosh, absolute clown shoes.
Of everything we are supposed to do here is being trampled upon. It is being thrown out the window.
Thrown out the window.
You are spitting on the very values that were formulated to bind this organization. With today's destructive resolution,
Today's destructive resolution. Okay, you know what I love about this? Israel has always had a blank check when it came to the UN, and it's always had America to stand there and go, we'll back you up, no matter what you want to do. The entire world will vote one way, and then the United States will vote to protect Israel. But because one time there was a resolution proposed that might actually hold Israel accountable, now it should be ripped up. That's the revelation of this fraud. That's the revelation of what a farce the UN is to begin with. Because all of these years, the UN has been sitting there as a protection racket for Israel, backed by the United States. And then the one time that doesn't happen, he's like, you know what? I quit. I quit the UN. I quit. I'm never coming back. Lose my number. Oh my God.
Are circumventing the Security Council, ignoring its decision, and violating the norms this organization has abided by. The charter was drafted for a reason, but most of you care nothing for the qualifications it outlines. So let me remind you what the charter says about admitting new UN membership. Membership in the United Nations is open to all other peace-loving states which accept the obligations
Bro, this
contained
reminds me of
in
when
the present
Republicans
charter.
will
Peace-loving.
cry and like hold
Number
up
two,
the
the admission
pocket
of any such
constitution.
state to membership in the United Nations will be affected by a decision of the General Assembly upon the recommendation of the Security Council. With today's vote, you are not only bypassing
He's shaking
the
because
Security
he's
Council
entitled.
violation of the charter, but you are bastardizing the meaning of peace.
You
loving.
are bastardized.
You know that the Palestinians are the exact opposite of peace loving. You know this. Since they rejected the UN partition plan in 1947, they rejected
I just
it.
like how they
have-
casually say the most racist shit about Palestinians, but they're never held to account for that. Like, to sit there and say just openly like that, Palestinians as a people aren't peace loving. That's just racist. That's just anti-Palestinian, anti-Arab, anti-Muslim racism.
Only tried to destroy Israel.
The
time and
English
again.
entitlement, though.
They are terror loving, not peace loving.
Terror loving.
Loving. The Palestinian Authority
Just
pays
casually
lifelong
saying
salaries
that
to
about all of
terrorists.
them.
It's in their budget. They teach martyrdom and jihad in their classrooms. They glorify death and murder. The Palestinians indoctrinate their children to murder Israelis and commit terror attacks. And then,
No!
when Israel defends herself, the Palestinian representative comes here, stands.
I'm gonna lose my mind if I hear any one more person say that they're just defending themselves. Like, this is such insane gaslighting. Like, you guys are constantly on the offense. You are constantly attacking the Palestinians. And then if they say anything, you go, and when we're just trying to defend ourselves, okay? Why can't we just defend ourselves? Defend yourselves from what? Defenseless people? And it's actually the settlers that come there and teach about how superior they are to the Palestinian terrorists. He's unironically standing there saying, Palestinians, they teach their children the jihad and blah, 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 blah. They teach their children to hate Jews and all this other stuff. When you're standing there literally saying that all Palestinians are terrorists, all Palestinians are jihadists, all of them are just dirty terrorists, and you teach your kid that shit in the same way, sitting in their classrooms occupied by the settlers. Make it make sense. But the entitlement, though. The entitlement, though.
Here shedding his crocodile tears as if he did not
You know
send
it's
all of them to
about
commit
crocodile tears to
suicide
me.
or terror attacks. Not a single Palestinian leader, not even one, has condemned the October 7th massacre. He calls the Hamas his brothers.
Hamas.
And this is who you want to bestow the rights of a state upon?
If we're doing condemnations, then I'm gonna need you to condemn the genocide and all your little friends to condemn the genocide. If we're doing condemnations.
Terror entity. As long as you,
He's mad
so
because
many of you,
he's mad because he's realizing that a lot of people aren't buying their bullshit anymore. That a lot of people are not buying their propaganda anymore. That's what that is. The anger that he's showing and the rage and the entitlement that he's showing is the kind of rage and entitlement that you get when your parent catches on that you're taking advantage of them. And so you start screaming in this kind of like entitled huff. Like that's what this is.
are Jew hating, you don't really care that the
Like
Palestinians
Palestinian
are not
hating?
peace loving.
Projection.
Despite your obligation to the UN Charter, you are here today to expose what the Charter truly means to you. When it comes to the lives of Israelis and Jews, the UN Charter means nothing to you. Nada, kaput. By ignoring the Charter and granting the Palestinians the privileges of a member state, you are proving that morality is.
Wait a second. This is also, again, super backwards, because why do they need to get the gift of a state? It's their state. They should have been recognized a long time ago. Why do they need a gift of a state? That right there shows you, again, how oppressed and occupied the Palestinians are, that we're talking about gifting them a state. And shut up about you don't care about the lives of the Israelis, as you literally sit there and call every Palestinian, including children and babies, terrorists. Spare me.
Is just a slogan for you, while politics and interest prevail. To you, the UN Charter is just a meaningless document, and the vote today will prove that.
No, that's what we call
You know
your
what you're doing
democracy.
today? Today you are gutting the Charter, and you are doing it in the wake of the most brutal massacre of my people since the Holocaust, on the ashes of the October 7th massacre. Guys,
ridiculous.
This day will
Absurd.
go down in infamy.
This day will go down in
The UN, an
infamy.
organization that was established in the aftermath of the systematic murder of 6 million Jews, pays no heed to its founding charter.
I really
and is advancing
need
another genocidal.
I really need the genocidal Israeli regime to stop using the Holocaust as an excuse for their current genocide. Okay? I'm getting real tired of that. The weaponization and the disrespect to the memory of people who were killed in the Holocaust, to be constantly using the Holocaust as an excuse so that you can carry out massacres on another group of people. It's so disgusting.
Regime that threatens the existence of the Jewish people.
What do you mean regime? They're
And
stateless.
I want the entire world to remember this moment.
What do you mean? First of all, the only way we're going to remember this moment is to make fun of you. That's number one. Number two, he just said the regime, the Palestinian regime. What regime? What are we talking about here? They're stateless. That's what you're crying your crocodile tears over.
To remember this immoral act. So today,
Acknowledging
I will
people
hold up a mirror
exist,
for you.
immoral.
A mirror. This is your mirror.
Oh my gosh, he brought
So
prop.
that you can see exactly what you are inflicting upon the UN Charter with this destructive vote.
He brought props.
This is. You are shredding the UN Charter with your own hands. Yes, yes, that's what you're doing. Shredding the UN Charter.
Oh my
on you.
gosh. Yeah, not the shredder from Timu.
I have heard many praise the resilience.
Oh my gosh, that was so embarrassing. That was so embarrassing. Oh my gosh. The projection, though. The projection. Oh my gosh. That was so embarrassing. Wow, that was so embarrassing. They should have put Hamas on the shredder. Oh my gosh, that was so embarrassing. And everything he said was literally projection. Everything he said was literally projection. That's you, boo. That's what you're doing. That's what you're doing. Oh my gosh. Oh, hey, Oshin. He shreds the charter with his own hands like he's... Yes, Oshin, you're right. Oh my gosh. That was so embarrassing and cringe. Like next level cringe. Yeah, seriously, that was like an SNL episode. Wow, that was ridiculous. What was the other? That was just so embarrassing. What was the other thing that you guys wanted to watch? There was something else that you guys wanted to watch. Was it the Egypt thing from Breaking Points, or was it something else? Or do a react to? I can't remember now. And it's, from what I understand, it's not just Egypt that is coming to join the ICJ case. I actually think it's more than just Egypt, if I can remember. Yeah, forget the Egypt one. Yeah, because I guess because we already, I guess we don't need to watch the Egypt one because we kind of already know how we feel about Egypt. I'll have to look that up and see everybody. Or actually, I probably can right now. Who all is joining the ICJ case against Israel? Okay. Present, share screen. All right, apparently this is a list. The least. Mark Lamont Hill challenges Newsweek opinion editor Batyan Garcelle Garner support. Oh, Charles, I'm gonna have to watch that but I'm gonna have to try to keep my cool because I can't stand Bata Anya Sargon. She is such a hack. She's such a hack. So, former position Nicaragua, Colombia, and Libya. Okay. Intention to intervene, the Maldives, Egypt, Turkey, Ireland, and Belgium. Its intention to join the case. In a statement, the Egyptian Foreign Ministry said that the decision was taken in light of escalating severity and scope of the Israeli assault against Palestinian civilians in Gaza and the systemic targeting of civilians and destruction of infrastructure in the Strip. Intervention for Israel, Germany. How ironic is that? How ironic is that? Of course, Germany is taking their side. Wow. Wow. How yikes. Yeah, I hope other countries join soon, too. Nar. Oh, Nar. I think you have a Zionist in your room. Who? I'll kick him out. That is true. They are nothing without Uncle Sam. Where's the lie? Who is the Zionist that's in the chat? Oh, somebody said there was. All right. I know. I don't know. Somebody said that, but I'm not sure. Oh, okay. No. How long is the Batya Ungar Sargon interview? Sargon. Mark Lamont Hill.
Ground invasion and seized control of the border crossing in Rafah, where more than 1 million Palestinians.
I can't stand Batya Ungar Sargon. I can't stand her. She's such a phony. She's such a phony. For those of you who don't know, her whole shtick is, aside from being a psychotic Zionist, is to pretend to be like contrarian. And she's always talking about how like she's pro working class, but really she's always trying to like sheepdog people into the right wing and to become Trump supporters. She's such a fraud. Do you guys want to watch this interview with Mark Lamont Hill and Batya Ungar Sargon and make fun of it? Or do you want to watch something else? Oh, yeah. All the Epstein people are traffickers. Zane wrote, why do they give these people airtime? I think it's important to give them airtime. They need to be exposed. They should have more airtime with people pushing back on them so their lies can be exposed. Yeah, totally. All right, we'll watch this in a second. I'm just going to start playing a little bit of it and pee really quick. Yeah, sure. You can send me a link to the Irish announcement too. I just got to pee, you guys, and then we'll watch it. Which, by the way, I have been in this live for an hour and a half, and I haven't even gotten a single sticker or a single super chat from you guys. Sad. Sad. At least nobody made comments about my skin being greasy so far yet. All right. I'm going to go to the bathroom really quick, and then we'll watch this.
Palestinians had been sheltering. Meanwhile, here in the United States, the crackdown against campus protesters calling for an end to U.S. support for Israel's war on Gaza continues. Students have faced violence from the police. They've been arrested, they've been suspended, and some have even been expelled. Joining me now to discuss this is Batya Ungar Sargon. She is the opinion editor at Newsweek and believes the Israeli military's conduct in Gaza has been just. Thank you for joining us. Let's talk about what's going on right now. Israel has killed nearly 35,000 Palestinians, a number that includes more than 13,000 children. The head of the World Food Program now has stated that northern Gaza has entered a mode of full-blown famine. You've made the case that Israel had the right to respond to the October 7th Hamas attacks. At this point, though, do you see Israel's response as proportional?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, the numbers that you cited, we get from Hamas, which has an interest in inflating the numbers. In fact, Hamas itself released a report on Telegram about a month ago in which it stated that it cannot account for 11.
You guys notice? Sorry, I'm like walking back into the room and I see this bullshit. She's like, actually, the numbers are disputed. They always immediately try to gaslight you and tell you that what you're seeing isn't real. They try to quibble on the numbers. Oh, yay. Somebody finally sent me a sticker and Unknown sent me a super chat. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm fine with I appreciate both of you. Both of you. I do appreciate both of you. I always appreciate that. Okay. Hamas. Okay. But yeah, this is the way that they do their propaganda is constantly to immediately try to downplay the numbers. Like, oh, well, this didn't really happen. Those Palestinians were really murdered because Hamas inflates the numbers. Do they, though? Do they? They don't.
1,000 of the people that they thought had been killed, effectively reducing the number to 22,000 by Hamas's own count. What proportionate means is it's not the proportion of civilian casualties on either side that we are comparing. Proportion in a war
AK
is the number of civilian casualties proportionate to the operation. And when you think about the number of Hamas militants Israel has killed relative to the tragic civilian casualties, it's very clear that that number is within the realm of what we have considered to be just war for, modern history.
Got you. So a couple points. First, the Gazan Health Ministry historically has been very accurate.
They're always accurate. First of all, thank you, Oshim, for the super chat. I appreciate it. Thank you, AK, even though you made fun of me for having an oily face. I appreciate you guys. It does. It helps the channel. It helps me be able to do things like, make this stuff and spend all the time I am editing. Because like even StreamYard, which is the app that I use to stream on YouTube, I have to pay for. So it's like anything is helpful, appreciated, so that I can continue to do this. I appreciate you guys. I love you. So thank you so much, Baz, and thank you so much, O'Day. I love you guys. Okay, so can we talk really quick about what an insane liar she is? So she immediately tries to downplay the number of the civilians that have been murdered by the IOF and says that we can't count on the Hamas Health Ministry numbers, even though whether it was Protective Edge or Cast Lead or any other assault that has happened on Gaza, whenever an independent investigator goes in to examine and to investigate the number of killed Palestinians, the numbers are always accurate. So if we're going off of like historical precedent, they're accurate. So lies right out the gate. Lies and rubbish, as the British would say.
With its death reports, they held up to UN numbers within 4%. They've held up to Israel's own scrutiny in the past. They've held out to the West Bank Palestinian Authority's numbers. And of course, they're not friends with Hamas. So whether it's Israel, whether it's the West Bank, or whether it's outside international bodies, these numbers tend to be pretty accurate. And as far as the 11,000 number that you mentioned, I read the telegram in English and in Arabic, and it wasn't that they couldn't account for the bodies. They just wanted additional information identifying those people. So I just want to be clear. I don't want people to think that somehow Hamas had like a missing 11,000 bodies and that they'd inflated the numbers. There's no evidence of that. But to your more fundamental point, which I think is an interesting one, we've seen some things that seem to me outside the
ended, bodied. Okay. He just bodied her, ended her. So she tried the talking point of, oh, but Hamas inflated the numbers. Mark Lamont Hill, I'm pretty sure, can speak Arabic, and he has studied it for a long time. Like this is not new for him. He was fired from CNN in 2018 for saying from the river to the sea. So he's not new to this game. And he just ended her with that. He read the telegrams, both in Arabic and in English. They never said that more people didn't die. In fact, studies have already been done that show that they're probably vastly undercounted because they're not counting the amount of people under the rubble and people missing. They haven't dug up all the mass graves yet. I'm sure there are more. What the telegram said was, as he pointed out, was we need more information on who they are. I like how Israeli propagandists are like, yeah, but we don't know exactly who they are, so it's probably fake. Do you not realize that the reason why they're having a hard time figuring out who a lot of these people are is because they've bombed all their hospitals, they've bombed all their institutions, they've bombed all of their libraries, government buildings? How easy do you think it's going to be to identify everybody when you blew them to pieces and all the buildings of people who work on identifying things like that? You think that in Gaza, there's just a pristine morgue to send people to identify people at? No. There are so many missing people. There are people that they have accounted for their bodies. They just don't know who they are yet because all the people whose job it is to do that, they've killed. It is likely far higher, because they've been saying 32,000 for 3 months. It is probably much higher. I would not be surprised if it was over 100,000 at this point. Thank you, collagen. Oh, I thought it was another troll on my skincare routine. Thank you. There is a movement to screw with celebrities who support Israel and can provide the link to the video where they discussed it on Sabby. I actually already know about it because I'm one of the people that have been participating in it on TikTok. I don't know how many of you guys follow me on TikTok, but I've done like 5 videos on that celebrity boycott on TikTok already. If you want collagen, like we can talk more about the celebrity boycott and why, but I actually made a video on YouTube too yesterday about it. Why we're boycotting celebrities, why we're blocking them, and like basically the reason why we're doing that mass block campaign and not buying their shit. I think I posted a video about it yesterday. I've studied Arabic since September 1996. Okay, yeah. So he's not even just like collage mirage, not collagen. Oh, LOL. LOL. Yeah, I totally got that. Sometimes I'll look at something and think I'm reading it right and be reading it. Yeah. Sorry, collage mirage. I literally looked at it and like just read it the totally entirely different way, which I'll do every once in a while. But yeah, I made a video about the celebrity boycott yesterday and the importance of that. And it's not just about blocking celebrities. We are trying to stop them from making money and getting eyeballs so that their brand gets damaged in the same way that McDonald's did. McDonald's and Starbucks, even to a lesser extent, has lost billions. Same thing with Instagram. I made an Instagram video today talking about how people need to not pay for Instagram because Instagram is now trying to charge people to even be on the platform.
Boundaries of just war. Countless human rights observers have documented how the attacks in Gaza have been somewhat indiscriminate. Residential buildings being bombed, schools, refugee camps, hospitals. Even journalists have been targeted. How do you make sense of that?
I think the word targeted there is being misused.
Sorry, I paused that because I want to read this. Blakely, I live in a third world country. I don't know what country you live in. I really want to support you, but we almost can't purchase anything online. No Patreon, no visas. Okay, I just want to say that that is totally okay. When I ask for support for people to support me on Ko-Fi or to send me super chats or anything like that, I mean if you are able to. Of course, I appreciate it so much. I really, it means a lot to me. I need support in order to continue to do what I'm doing. I need to be able to afford the things that I'm doing. So of course my channel needs support. But when I say that, of course, I mean if you are able. If you are not able to, that is okay. And that is understandable. I don't want anybody feeling like they absolutely have to, even if they don't have the means to. Of course not. Of course not. When I ask, I mean like if you have the means to. But if you don't, that is okay. You can support it in other ways by sharing it and following and sharing the content and things like that. So I love you. There is no funny Zionist comedy.
Used. There are always tragic occurrences in any war, and what we have to determine in the case of Israel and Gaza is, are these war crimes or is this just war, which is always horrific?
Yeah.
There are always tragedies in war. Israel requires for any military attack 2 independently verified pieces of intelligence to attack a building, or even more so for a school or for a civilian building. I'm curious what you think of the fact that Israel has not entered a single hospital in Gaza in which they did not find evidence.
That's not true. The lies, the lies. War is tragic. It's not a war. It's not a war. It's a genocide. It's an occupation. It's an apartheid system. It's a siege. It's a concentration camp. It is not a war. A war implies that there are two sides, standing armies, autonomous militaries with borders and control. Lies. The lies. The lies. The lies. Jeez. Insane lies. Oh my gosh. Also, she's lying about there being evidence that there's all these Hamas people in the hospitals. Oh, you mean like all the civilians that were found with zip ties on their hands and blindfolded? And also, yeah, if we're going to play that game and go, war is bad. So I'm sorry that a lot of civilians got massacred, but war is bad. You know, nobody likes war. Okay, well, then that can apply to October 7th, too. Because you'll notice how we in our media and in the West call certain things war and certain things terrorism. So Israel gets to have a war, even though it's killed 10 times the amount of people more. But when Palestinians fight back, that's terrorism. So Palestinians fighting back is terrorism. Israel carrying out genocide, that's a war. So thank you, O'Day. Not a single shred of evidence found. Correct. Correct. Not a shred. Not only that, but if you're going to do the bad things happen in war routine, then that is exactly the standard that we should all be applying then to October 7th. All of it. The thing we should be applying to October 7th, and when these people say, oh, well, you know, war's bad, you know, is, you know what? I'm very sorry for what happened on October 7th. And I feel for the civilians that were harmed, but war's bad. Also, the routine of all the civilians, they say this a lot too. All the civilians killed is Hamas's fault. Okay, well, we can also apply that to October 7th as well. I'm sorry that there were civilians lost on October 7th, but you know what? War is bad, and that's on the Israelis. Because if the Israeli regime were not occupying them, if the Israeli regime were not keeping them in a concentration camp, then October 7th would have never happened. And on top of that, where was Israel? Where were they on October 7th? They didn't protect their citizens. So I'm sorry that that happened to the civilians, but war is bad. Israel should have been protecting its citizens better. And resistance is going to happen if you oppress people. Like, that's what's going to happen. That's how everybody should be answering this, but of course, they don't. It is the double standard of who gets to be human and who doesn't get to be human. It's the double standard of Israelis get to be human and Palestinians are considered animals and terrorists.
That Hamas had been using it to a certain degree. Now, you might say they've inflated the number of things they would have expected to find there, that they said there was going to be, you know, some huge compound and that maybe they didn't find it in some of these cases.
Yeah, one time I saw a box of dates. I was like, you know, if I look under a hospital like Al-Shifa, for example, and I see, you know, minimal evidence of Hamas presence there, it makes me say, all right, this isn't a military target. But there's a bigger point here that I wanted to get at, which to your point.
It also wasn't, they didn't find evidence. Remember when they came out with that embarrassing, like, simulation where they were like, this is the compound that Hamas has under Al-Shifa Hospital. And it was like 5 levels of a command center. And then, like, it was just the simulation. There was zero evidence of an actual command center.
for example, Israel's October 9th strike on the Jabalia refugee camp killed 39 people. According to the UN Office of the High Commissioner on Human Rights, Israel provided no military objective. They provided no advance warnings. This is an example where this seems to be indiscriminate and certainly outside the boundaries of law.
Yeah.
The vast majority of the operation has been based on not a single, but on two independently verified pieces of evidence that a situation is being used by Hamas in a military way. Now, of course.
So how would you explain the Jabalia refugee? I mean, 39 people is a large number. How would you explain that then?
This is a war. I mean,
right, but there was no military objective and no advance warning. Are those two things can't be defensible?
I can't recall that specific.
I love that. He's like, can you please explain how that happened? And she's like, well, it's a war. It's a war. Like, yes, not the least, O'Day. Thank you. Yeah, and let's also not forget that a lot of what happened on October 7th, a lot of the people that were killed by Israeli airstrikes. Like, when you see those horrible pictures of the people in the cars from that day, which I saw and I was horrified by, like, it's really creepy. It came out quickly that Hamas did not have the technology to do that. They were like Apache helicopters that did that, technology that Hamas did not have. So, and there was also reports that came out later where there was an Israeli civilian or citizen who said that they were being targeted by soldiers.
Event, but there was, even from Israel's point of view, they killed 3 hostages in an accident during one of these operations. That obviously was not intentional, right?
That one makes sense to me, but killing 39 people with no military objective or advance warning seems different to me. But let me give you another example. October 31st.
Also, it wasn't an accident. They're already trying to retcon this and make it into something that it wasn't. The IOF admitted that they killed those hostages because they thought they were Hamas pretending to be Israeli. And Israel has a policy that they call the Hannibal Directive, that they say it's better to have one dead Israeli than have them as a hostage. So they did not accidentally kill those Israeli hostages. They chose to kill them because they thought they were either better dead than hostages, or they thought they were Hamas pretending to be Israeli. But even so, they don't care about their hostages. If they cared about their hostages, then they wouldn't be carpet bombing Gaza. Like, in America, when there's been a mass shooting at a school, we don't bomb the school to get the mass shooter out.
First, Israeli military airstrike happens on a 6-story apartment building near the Nusayrat refugee camp in central Gaza. That one killed 106 civilians, including 54 children, according to Human Rights Watch. No evidence of a military target in the vicinity of the building at the time of the attack, and Israeli authorities have offered no justification.
Also, keep in mind, too, that they constantly lie about their quote-unquote mass rape hoax. There was like literally zero evidence of that, but they continue to spew it all over TV, all the time, in print media, in digital media, everywhere.
For the attack. I mean, these are large numbers. How do we explain that? Does that give you pause at least?
No, because
no, it doesn't.
And in a war, you have to go on the evidence that you
no,
have.
It doesn't give me pause.
They're offering evidence.
And the vast majority of Israel's operations in Gaza have been based on a lot of intelligence. They've significantly weakened Hamas's ability to organize and to retaliate against them.
I hear you saying the majority, but let me give you another example. In February, a group of UN special rapporteurs expressed their concern about the, quote, deliberate targeting and extrajudicial killing of Palestinian women and children in places where they sought refuge.
She just contradicted herself. You guys got that? Catch that? She said on the one hand, sorry that a bunch of civilians died. It's war, shit happens. But then on the other hand, she goes, no, we're very targeted in our attacks. We're very targeted in our attacks. We're very careful. We have intelligence. Which one is it? Which one is it? Is it targeted attacks where you guys have great intelligence and you're precise? Or are you just targeting civilians and you have the most idiotic military in the world that doesn't have the technology? Which one is it? And they do have the technology, like the AI technology, where's daddy, that they use specifically to wait for militants in Hamas to go home to kill their whole families.
Refuge or while fleeing. Some of them were reportedly holding white pieces of cloth when they were killed by the Israeli army. Again, there are, for every sort of claim that this is a just war and that bad things happen in war, there are just numerous instances where there seem to be clear violations of the rules of war, clear violations of international law, clear war crimes being committed. Is it possible that two things are true, right? That there are some unfortunate casualties that happen, maybe the hostage situation that you're describing, but at the same time,
I don't believe for 2 seconds any of their numbers about how many Hamas militants that they've killed. Not at all. Because they call everything Hamas. How am I supposed to believe, or why should you believe, any of their statements about who is a Hamas militant and who is not when they call everything Hamas? Like, the chair outside is Hamas. So why would we, any of us, believe their numbers about how many militants they've killed?
that also Israel has committed some war crimes here.
There's probably at the end of this going to be evidence that Israel has committed some war crimes. There has never been a war in which there were not war crimes committed.
That's
but
true.
that does not get to the heart of whether this is a just war and whether, as I keep saying, the vast majority of the operation has been done according to the rules of international law. But of course, there has never been a war without war crimes, and there will be evidence of those. The shooting of the 3 hostages is, of course, very good example of one that even I think Israel would acknowledge.
So do you support then a full-scale investigation of Israeli war crimes?
Of course. I mean, why would we not? Who would not want that?
You'd be surprised how many guests I've had on who say just the opposite. Let's talk about these campus protests. I want to talk to that because that's obviously something that's...
Wait, I missed that. Just so people know, if Israel had actual evidence of any rape or any true massacres, it would have been broadcasted to this moment. Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%. It would be everywhere. Why do you think that there are no pictures? There are no videos. They love to bring up the, what was it, 47-minute video or whatever, but they won't let us see it. Like, why can't we see it? Why can't we see the video? Why are they hiding that from us? And then they go, oh, well, they had their GoPros on. They were proud of what they did. I've seen some of the footage from the GoPros, and honestly, from everything I saw, the only 2 things that I saw from any of those GoPro videos that were disturbing to me was one where a Hamas militant threw a grenade into a bomb shelter where there were children. And obviously that was disturbing to see because I don't want to see anybody blown up, let alone a kid. I don't think the children died, though. I think only their dad did. And then there was another video from one of the GoPros that Hamas had let out where there were 2 girls running and they caught up to the girls and they shot them. And that was disturbing to see. But again, even though that was hard for me to watch, like, because I don't want to see any human being get killed, I could say the same thing that Batya Angar is saying. I could say, oh, yeah, well, you know what? I'm really sad that those people got killed the way that they did, but that's what happens in war. And again, that was the worst of what I've seen. And I think it's sus that they refused to release the video and that they have continued to claim that there was mass rapes, but there is zero evidence of that. They said all these people were raped at the festival. Zero evidence of that. All these women were. Where is the evidence of that? Nowhere. There is no evidence of that. There's nothing in it. Yeah. Yeah. There's no evidence from anyone. They had those Zaka people come in, which is just a propaganda outlet, and pick up a phone and go like, oh my gosh, this is really bad. And they're like, can we see it? And they're like, no, trust me, bro. Like all of the Israeli regime's evidence comes down to trust me, bro. Like that's literally it. Just trust me, bro. I've got the evidence here. You just can't see it. It's right here, but I can't show you. It's classified. Like it literally. Like, oh yeah, remember there are people at this late date still repeating the beheaded babies hoax. They like Ben Shapiro and Sheryl Sandberg and somebody else I saw the other day on some mainstream media outlet talking about burnt babies and beheaded babies when that literally was already debunked. It was even Israeli media outlets like Haaretz have already said that that didn't happen.
Incredibly important in the United States conversation right now. You've referred to students protesting as, quote,
Would not want that.
You'd be surprised how many guests I've had on who say just the opposite.
You know, very good example of one that even I think Israel would acknowledge.
So do you support then a full-scale investigation of Israeli war crimes?
Of course. I mean, why would we not? Who would not want that?
You'd be surprised how many guests I've had on who say just the opposite. Let's talk about these campus protests. I want to talk to that because that's obviously something that's incredibly important in the United States conversation right now. You've referred to students protesting as, quote, intifada revolution.
Ben Shapiro is American. Somebody asked, is Ben Shapiro American? Ben Shapiro is American, but like a lot of fascist, radical Israeli supporters, if he wanted to, he could just go there and get citizenship. Like that's how crazy it is. I used to not know that. Like among all the other things that I've learned since October 7th, I learned that like a settler from literal like New York, like you can live in New York, have never been outside of the United States, and just go to Israel and get citizenship and take someone's house. Like legit. It's insane. It's insane. It's totally insane. And no American should be okay with it because isn't America like the place that is all about property rights? It's all about property rights, bro. Don't tread on me. Gadsden flag, blah, 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 blah. Why are you okay with people taking someone else's house then? Excuse me. Excuse me. Oh, my boys.
Wannabes saying I hear you laughing a bit. I mean, it's an interesting turn of phrase. You said that they are a privileged caste engaging in self-indulgent narcissism.
Well, they chant Intifada revolution, right? Like, what would you call? I mean, that's their chant, right? So I'm laughing because of the wannabes part, because like as someone who lived through the actual Intifada, like, you know what I mean? It's like I don't think that they're actually dangerous, but I think that they wish they were in a way because they chant Intifada revolution, right? It's like, well, what do you think that means? Like vibes or?
It's an interesting question. I guess what I was curious about was you equating the anti-war protests to narcissism and self-indulgence.
Yeah. Well,
that's the part I'm
yeah, because I'm outraged about it actually, because Palestinians deserve good advocates, and this is not that. And the reason I know that is because I look at
you're just concerned about their
appeal to the common humanity in every person and say, you are like me and I am like you. And I know that together, this nation is better than what we are right now and can be. And he managed to change the nation. To me, what these people are doing is the opposite. They're not showing up and saying, the occupation is unbearable, right? How can we create a situation where Israel will no longer be doing that? How can we convince?
First of all, she pretends to be anti-elite and is criticizing these college students for being elite when she herself is an elitist who promotes sheepdogging people into the MAGA right wing. That's number one, while pretending to be pro-working class. Like, again. Second of all, I love how it's always, I support your right to protest, but not like that. Like, that's literally what this is all the time. I get that you guys don't want to live in an oppressed apartheid and live under a brutal occupation, but why do you got to do it like that? Why? Collage Mirage, I have not seen Michael Rappaport's latest crazy rant, but don't threaten me with a good time, because if I see it, I might end up making a parody video on it. Which I've actually been trying not to make as many parody videos recently because when I do, they just get banned, like on TikTok.
the most amount of people in the US, but also in Israel, which is like the stakeholder here and the person who has the entity that has control over it, that this is the wrong way and here is a different path. They are not trying to appeal to the broadest swath of the American people and change their minds. They're doing the opposite. They're intentionally using extremely violent, vile, and triggering language to limit the number of people who are going to agree with their cause, to limit it so that they can feel moral superiority over everyone who doesn't agree with them. And I think that that's outrageous.
Couple thoughts. The first thing is, I think the difference with the King argument is that MLK was.
It's outrageous. You don't just disagree with them. It's outrageous. So these college students saying, oh, well, you know, you probably shouldn't be occupying and murdering all these innocent Palestinians. Outrageous. It's outrageous, good sir. Good sir. Wow, nice pearl clutching.
Was convincing his fellow citizens domestically on a kind of civil response to structural injustice internally. I think that's different than King's response, say, to the Vietnam War. He wasn't challenging the campus protests. When King dies in '68, he wasn't saying we shouldn't be on college campuses protesting the war. You know,
but it was our war. Like, we are not fighting in Gaza.
We're funding it, though, and that's literally that's the argument. That's the argument, though, that, just hear me out. That's the argument that the students are making. They're saying that we are funding it through our tax dollars. We are sending weapons, and the universities that they're at are literally investing in the Israeli state, and so they're calling for a divestment movement. They're saying we're complicit, and we want to stop being complicit.
But what we are actually doing, and this is the way the vast majority of Americans see it, is we are helping an ally that does actual work for us.
The vast majority?
Who's ally? First of all, vast majority, I don't believe those polls. Second of all, who's ally? Ours? Bitch, you're not my ally. You are not my ally. No, 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 no. No. And not only that, but so what he's saying, which is correct, is so these students are simply saying we don't want our tax money and the investments from the universities that we pay to go to support this apartheid and genocide. And she's saying that they're outrageous for doing that. Like, she's such a fraud. Yeah, the Israeli regime are nothing but leeches off of our tax dollars, and they yell at us and they control our politicians and tell us what to do and demand that we give them money and weapons. Ally, please.
80% of Americans back Israel over Hamas.
Yeah, but 55% disapprove of Israel's war in Gaza. 70% support a permanent ceasefire and de-escalation of violence.
Also, I don't even believe those polls because the way that they ask, and when I say I don't believe the polls, I mean like the way that they ask the question can be very manipulative, because as he just pointed out, 55% of Americans are against what Israel is carrying out in Gaza. Okay, that's more than half. Correct, Rhino. They do have free healthcare and education off of our backs. Off of our backs. We don't have healthcare and education in this country, but we pay for theirs. Okay. But second of all, when people say, oh, well, you know, 80% of Americans support Israel, that's not true, because over 55 support ending the siege in Gaza and don't support what they're doing. But also, a lot of people that they ask that question to have no idea what's going on. So they just say, oh, yeah, sure, I support Israel. Like, they don't have any idea what's happening. And for those who do, they don't support it unless they're psychotic Zionists.
Not support a permanent ceasefire.
Netanyahu?
I support a permanent ceasefire.
So you
not this minute, but you need to.
That's what Americans want.
Oh, that is not what they're talking about.
No. I mean, of course, everybody supports peace.
I love that. Everyone supports peace in theory. I support a permanent ceasefire, but not now, though. Not now. Sure, it's been 7 months. 7 months. But not now. You know? Fraud.
Yes,
do you like ice cream? Do you like
that's
kittens?
What they're saying. That is what they're saying. They're saying we like kittens. We want peace. We want a permanent ceasefire. Everybody wants. Who would say no to that?
People who believe that a permanent ceasefire is not possible because they believe that Hamas is perpetually violent and that the only way they can be controlled is by Israel maintaining effective control and effectively an apartheid domination of all of historic Palestine.
Well, I like how she says, who wouldn't want a ceasefire theoretically? The Israelis. The Israelis don't want a ceasefire. Yeah, he's like crushing her.
That's what lots of people
First of
believe.
all-
But again, 52% believe that the U.S. government should halt weapons shipments to Israel until Israel stops the attack on Gaza. That doesn't sound like support of Israel.
No, it's until Israel stops. The question was, should America, I mean, the poll that I saw, should America halt shipments of weapons to Israel until Israel stops halting humanitarian aid?
No, I'll read the, no, that's not true. That's just not accurate. I'll read the question to you.
Okay, that is the study that I saw.
There's more than one study, and the one I read and I'm quoting from says, do you think that the U.S. should stop weapon shipments to Israel until Israel discontinues?
I like how he's like, the casual just like burn on her there. He's like, there's more than one study, you know? But anyway.
Use its attacks on the people of Gaza, end quote. And 52% said yes.
Yes, because its
27%
attacks are
said
not on
no.
the people of Gaza. They are on Hamas, and Hamas is
No!
Hamas militants.
But then there have been other people who have made the claim that we're not at war with Hamas. We're at war with the state of Gaza. We're at war with the Palestinian
Yeah,
people.
people say stupid things. I mean,
Yeah, but some of them are in. Yeah, but
yes, people in our government say stupid things too, right,
yes,
Mark?
but if it's John Bolton, for example, we can't just say, oh, people say crazy things. If you're the architect of foreign policy, that's different. I'm talking people in Netanyahu's cabinet are saying this stuff.
Yeah, you have to show that it's had an actual impact on the way that the war is being executed.
Well,
Oh, see how the goalpost keeps moving? See how the goalpost keeps moving? So he's like, 52% of Americans say that we should stop sending arms to Israel because they are attacking innocent civilians. And then she goes, oh, well, but we're not. It's Hamas. But you guys call everybody Hamas. And then Mark Lamont Hill correctly points out, yeah, but that's not what the Israeli regime is calling it. They're saying all the people of Gaza. They're saying all the Palestinians. They're saying Amalek. And then she goes, well, a lot of people say stupid things. And he's like, yeah, but they're not all in the government. Like Ben-Gvir is in the war cabinet and he says stuff like that. And she's like, well, you're going to need to have evidence that he's affecting policy. First of all, he's in the war cabinet. Of course he's affecting policy. He's in the war cabinet. So, but do you see how she keeps trying to move the goalpost? Oh, thank you, Tom. It's not real, doesn't exist. Yeah, they don't allow DNA testing there. I found out from someone, a little while back, which to me was like insane. Like, that's crazy.
I did earlier. I showed all the different the refugee camps, the hospitals, the indiscriminate strikes that are killing dozens of people. I'm just going to give you an example here. A retired Major General Giora Island, also former head of National Security Council and the current advisor to the defense minister. So this isn't just some retired guy who's just talking from his chair. He clearly stated on November 19th that the whole Gazan civilian population was a legitimate target, and that quote, severe epidemics in the south of the Gaza Strip will bring victory closer. So even the epidemics in the south are seen as evidence of defeating the quote-unquote enemy. These epidemics aren't happening just to Hamas. Hamas isn't just starving. Hamas isn't just getting sick. He said Israel is not fighting against a terrorist organization, but against the state of Gaza. This is the advisor to the Minister of Defense.
Wait, do you deny?
He just like crushed her again. Crushed her again. He's like pointing out, first of all, I love that he had all the receipts. So she's like trying to like push this bullshit. And he's like, no. Excuse me. He has his own list. He's like, I've got a list with the receipts of them saying this, that it is not just a war on Hamas, it is a war on all of the Palestinian people. All they do is project, deflect, and lie. Literally. All they do, all these Zionist simps, all they do is deflect and lie and project.
That Hamas has a political wing that runs the state of Gaza? I mean, the state meaning like the political wing of Hamas? Do you deny that?
No, I don't deny that. Here's the problem. If you say we're fighting against all of the Palestinians, they're all a legitimate target, and I'm not fighting against Hamas, but I'm fighting against the state of Gaza.
Anyone should say everybody's a target. I don't.
But that's what
that is what he said.
I need to defend the IDF's operation. And
but you don't think there's a connection between
I know
Netanyahu?
that there is no connection between that because I know that the IDF is not responding to what they're not looking at Haaretz and Yisrael Hayom.
This is the advisor to the Minister of Defense. Again, this isn't some
but
retired general saying get off my lawn. This is the advisor to the
Yeah, she's trying to say, oh, well, the IDF is not listening to what they say. They're not listening to what like those guys are saying as if it's some rando on Twitter. No, bro, the IOF is carrying out those orders. So lies that she's like, oh no, I don't want to say that. And I don't care what those guys said because the IOF is not carrying out that operation, except they are. And as he pointed out correctly, this isn't just some rando on Twitter saying this. These are officials.
The Minister
You
of
can
Defense.
look at what the IDF has done on the ground.
Yes.
The fact that they have issued millions and millions of warnings. I mean, this has never happened in the history of warfare before, where a military is literally telegraphing to the enemy what they are about to do in order to warn civilians to get them out of harm's way. That has never happened before in the history of warfare, that a military is literally warning the enemy to protect the enemy's civilian population.
We have seen that before. We've seen it in Syria. We've seen it in Iraq. But
to the degree.
First of all, that's a lie. And also, there have been warnings for people to get civilian infrastructure out of the way. That's happened many times. But also, I like how they always try to make it like they're heroes. Like, oh, isn't it so nice that they knocked on your door before they dropped a bomb on it? Isn't it nice that they knocked on the door before they just dropped a missile or sent a missile? Seriously.
That the Israelis
that's a different claim. I was responding to your initial claim, which is that no army's ever done that. But
to the tune of millions and millions and millions of messages, warnings, multiple warnings, literally allowing their targets to escape to protect the civilian population. I mean, does that not have any merit with you? Do you not think that's deserving of like recognition that people should?
Yeah, somebody pointed out that Russia does that too in Ukraine, which is true. So this is just made up that she's saying that the Israeli regime are the only ones that do that. Also, they're actually worse because they'll quote unquote warn the civilians and then bomb them right after. Or they'll say, hey, we're about to bomb your town, go south. And then they bomb the routes that the people are traveling on. But you want a cookie. You want a cookie for that. Most moral army in the world. Playboy, I don't need for somebody to tell me that they're a horrific, evil army for me to know from anybody else saying it because I can just look at their own social media. Like, that's what these people don't get. This is what the Zionists don't get. That it's not some leftist college student or some Chinese communist shadowy figure sending me messages through TikTok that makes me realize that the IOF are evil. Bro, their own statements showed me that. Their own video showed me that. I didn't need someone to propagandize me in order to see that the IOF was evil. They did a good job of that themselves. Like, literally, they're the ones who showed me how awful and evil they are. I didn't need anybody to tell me that. I literally was just watching their statements and their social media and thought, wow, this is really evil.
Recognize that happens.
So I think this isn't extraordinary to get to allow civilian populations to escape.
No, but the extent to which the IDF goes is extraordinary.
All right. Well, unfortunately, we're out of time, so we'll have to leave it there. Batia Ungar Sargon, thank you so much for joining me on Upfront. Everybody, that's our show, Upfront.
Oh my gosh, how embarrassing. The lengths that the IOF goes are extraordinary. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah, not just their social media on TikTok, their telegrams. I've seen some of the things that they shared in some of the groups on Telegram, and it's some of the most evil shit I've ever seen. Literally, people in those Telegram channels laughing and celebrating the deaths of Palestinian civilians. There was a post in their Telegram channel where they were laughing and celebrating the deaths of the UN workers, the aid workers from the World Central Kitchen, laughing about it. It's some of the most evil shit I've ever seen. So yeah, I don't need for some random person to convince me that no, actually the IOF is really good and they're doing the best that they can and they're the most moral army in the world and would do everything that anybody else would not, when like, bro, I've seen your own social medias. Wow, that was wild. That was wild. Mossad was behind the expat. Yeah, I think I knew that. But Hamas! But Hamas! That's so funny. Yep, one call from Biden and the war could stop. The genocide could stop. But he won't. He won't because he's a Zionist. It's insane. Wow. That was wild. All right, fam. We're about 2 hours and 20 minutes in. So, did you see the children singing about? Yeah. Yeah, that's the kind of shit that they do. That's why I'm like, wow, that's evil. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. In their Telegram, they were laughing and making memes about the aid workers that have been killed from the World Central Kitchen. It's really sick. Yeah. Yeah, I do have dogs. You want to see them? Somebody said they wanted to see my dogs. I have two. So this is Melvin. Say hi, do. Melvin. So this is my dog, Melvin. He is a long-haired dachshund. And this is my other one. He is a short-haired dachshund. And his name is Egan. Say hi, Shagan. Say hi, Shagan. Why you gray? Why you gray? Wiggy. This is Eggy. Because he has an egg head. They're adorable. They're adorable. I have a cat. I named her Hamas. No, I know. You know what I really want? You guys, I really want one of those Hamas headbands. Like, I want to get like 3, like 1 for myself and 2 for my dogs. That would be so funny. But like, I wouldn't know where to get the headbands. Like, where do you get a headband like that? It would be really funny. My dogs are Hamas. Yeah, Melvin, Eggy, do you condemn Hamas? But do you condemn Hamas? Yeah, well, everybody in here should join the Discord. And if you can find where I can get a headband like that, put it in the Discord. Vanessa, no, I did not see them ravaging the trucks, but I did see them putting blocks in front of it. No, Zane, it can't be anything green because it's a very specific type of green. It's like a kind of like a bright grass green, kind of. And then it has like Arabic writing on it. Does anybody speak Arabic know what it actually says on the headband? Like, what does the headband actually say? Sorry, I know my dogs are being really noisy. A certain South Dakota governor wants to talk to you. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Thank you, Patricia, for the super sticker. Oh, thank you, Tom, also for the dog treats. It says Al-Qassam Brigade. Yeah, I'll look that up. I saw the Do you guys know where that video is? I'll look up the video. Keithy Brinson, Blakely, what are your impressions of Brooklyn in general? Brooklyn's a wonderful city. I love Brooklyn. Brooklyn is a wonderful, wonderful city. It says the Shada. What does that mean? What does that mean? Charlie, I did see it. I did see it. It was so, because in that he asks Rania Khalek if she condemns Hamas. Al-Qassam Brigade and the Shahada. What does Shahada mean? The testimony of faith from Muslim. Oh, okay. So is it kind of like the gospel for Christians? The Shahada is what people say when they revert to Islam. Oh, okay. Okay, so is it, okay, so it's like a statement of faith? So it's like a statement of faith. So is it kind of like the way that Christians say we get saved? By like Christians say we get saved by accepting the gospel and Jesus Christ is our savior. Okay. Yeah, somebody said if I wore that headband that it would go against my faith. I don't think so, because God has a sense of humor and he would know that I was doing it to unironically annoy Zionists and also support the cause of the Palestinian people and their liberation and freedom. So I do. So anyway, you guys should join my Discord, which again is in the comments or section or whatever of my YouTube page, and help me find that little green headband. Okay, so it is like a statement of faith. Wouldn't be the first time I was threatened by Zionists, Dane. I've been threatened before by them. Yeah, I do live in New York. I love New York. I know that there are a bunch of losers, Zionists who live in Brooklyn who are going to Palestine to try to take their land, but that's obviously a very small percentage of people. Brooklyn is huge. It has millions. Like there's close to 4 million people that live in Brooklyn. There are over 8 million people who live in New York City broadly alone. Yeah. But yeah, I saw the video where there was a bunch of settlers who took rocks and put them like bricks in these like huge pieces of concrete in the way so that the aid couldn't get through, which is some seriously evil shit. Like that is evil. Yeah, I probably would get in trouble. I should make my own green band and write on it, but do you condemn Hamas? Exactly. And I care about Palestinian liberation. Whether I don't care if somebody is a Muslim or not. Like, I don't care. Also, not all Palestinians are Muslim. There are Palestinian Christians. Like, there are actually a lot of Palestinian Christians. Yeah, I think I should write, but do you condemn Hamas on the green band? I just need to find the green band. And then I need to figure out how to print that in Arabic. Because I'd want to write it in Arabic. But do you condemn Hamas? And yes, there are also Palestinian Jewish people. Yeah. They always want to pretend that this is just about radical Islam and about hatred of Jewish people, rather than what it's really about, which is occupation and land theft. Yeah. This is going to be frustrating to download. Islamists, I know. Islamists. It's so like Christianist. It's so stupid. Yeah. There was nothing said about all the Christians that were killed by the IOF around Christmas at those churches. Yeah, it would be like saying Christianists. It's really stupid. They just say it to make it sound scary. Because they want people in the West to be afraid of Muslims. Part-time king. Yeah, but I don't know. But Ilyas, I don't know how to write. I don't know how to write in Arabic. I want to print it in Arabic. But do you condemn Hamas? Yeah, I know, right? I think the Pope has made a statement about it, but it was like once. Oh yeah, Hannity. Hannity is almost comical propaganda. Like, he is such an over-the-top propagandist. A ridiculous, mouth-breathing, boot-licking propagandist to the Zionists and the powerful and corporate elites. Like, it's almost comical. It's almost like he does it for show. Like, it's almost like fake. Like, it's that over the top it should be in a movie. No, I want to write, but do you condemn Hamas in Arabic? That's interesting, Rhino. That's interesting, Rhino, that you say that, because people are always like saying that, you know, we have to defend whatever Israel does because they're just always in fear and so afraid because all the Muslims and Arabs want to kill them. What is the live schedule? I haven't come up with a live schedule yet. And the reason for that is because I'm going to be traveling a lot in the next like 2 months. Mostly for just things that have to do with my family. And so I'm going to try to still do the lives, but I don't want to say like a definitive schedule because I don't want to have to cancel it or change it. So like, I want to be consistent. So I don't want to say, okay, from now on, I'm going to do Thursdays and Saturday, or I'm going to do Mondays and Thursdays. I don't want to say that because I don't want to be like, oh, I'm going to do this. And then I go on and tell you guys, oh, well, I can't because I'm traveling or this or that. So once the summer is over, I'm going to come up with like a full-time live schedule. Like once, like, I shouldn't say summer is over. Once we are closer to the end of summer, I'm going to come up with more of a live schedule that is more consistent. But in the meantime, so I would say in the meantime, I will come up with a schedule toward the end of the summer, but in the meantime, I'm going to continue to do them twice a week. and I'll tell you guys like the day before or 2 days before, like what day it's going to be. I've known about AIPAC for a while. I remember reading about AIPAC interfering in our elections a couple years ago, but I didn't realize to the extent of their power and control. Wait, music is life. Guys, look at the screen. What does this say? This is Arabic. What does this say in English? Yeah, I say twice a week because I also create content on other platforms, which also takes. Do you condemn Hamas? Oh, how can I save that? How can I copy and paste it though? It's not letting me copy and paste it. That's so annoying. All right. Can somebody, when this live posts on YouTube, because it'll post on YouTube, can somebody write that so I can copy and paste it? Yes, I do want to put that picture of Piers Morgan on my shirt. In fact, no, the reason why I didn't want to use Google Translate, Mohammed, is because I would prefer somebody who actually knows how to speak Arabic to write it correctly. I actually wanted to get that Piers Morgan meme that says, but do you condemn Hamas? And then wear it and then go on a show and wear it on the show. Reno, where are you living? You said that some people where you live are afraid because they're afraid of like Israeli Jews because they are afraid of what is said about Muslims. No, Zane, I don't think the chat is going to be public. That's why I can't copy and paste it. Yeah, I wanted to say Hamas with a K. Say Hamas. Yes, Black Soul. I can design you a headband that says, do you condemn Hamas? That's what I want. I want the green headband with, do you condemn Hamas with the K? All right. Thank you, Black Soul. Is it Black Soul or Blake Soul? Like my name is Blakely. Yeah, Zane, don't worry. This chat is not public and it doesn't, unless you're actually in the live and they don't save it. It doesn't get saved. Like it just, which actually annoys me that it doesn't get saved because then I can't copy and paste anything. All right. Thank you, Blake Soul. But I am. But do you condemn Hamas? It's really funny to me. Yes, but do you condemn Hamas with the K? It has to have the K. Yeah, it really is atrocious the way the double standards work around here, Mo. Like a 6-year-old Palestinian boy that got murdered by his neighbor in Chicago and it barely made the news. But yet it'll make the news that like a Jewish student, a Zionist student even at a college campus protest was like inconvenienced. Yeah, with his mom. His mom was attacked too. Oh, it was so horrible. It was horrible. The little boy was so cute too. And she got tickled by a flag. Yes, I made fun of that girl in one of my parody videos. Flaggate. Yeah, it's so evil. Yeah, so the reason why that I have been doing my live streams only twice a week is because usually they're long, and also as I was mentioning to you guys earlier, I also create content for TikTok and Instagram. So I create like separate content for all the 3 platforms, and so it takes me a while to do all of that And also, as somebody pointed out on my YouTube video, I am not very good at editing, and it takes me a long time to edit all of these. It takes me a while to edit everything. So I have to edit it, and then I've got to upload it, and then I've got to do all this stuff. So that's why I can only do it twice a week, because it's just too much editing, too much work, since I do it all myself. But yes, I do plan on having like a more consistent schedule once I actually get things under control. But because I don't know exactly, you know, with all the travel I'm going to be doing this summer with my family, like, and visiting my family, I just don't know exactly when that's going to be, or that I'm going to have to do the lives on certain days. Like, even when I'm out of town, I'm going to try to still do the lives the days that I'm out of town, but I just won't be able to know exactly what days they'll be. So I'll just say for now, it's going to be twice a week. It'll always be twice a week, and I'll let you guys know which days. Yes, Nar, I did finish my song. Thank you for asking. The only thing, same, I'll answer both of these. Same with the bingo. I haven't finished the bingo. I wanted everybody to write their favorite gaslighting statements that they do. You know, like, but Hamas, Israel has a right to defend itself, human shields, all the famous like buzzwords and propaganda that they like to use. I said, everybody should put their favorites in the Discord, and then we'll make a bingo. So that we haven't finished that yet. And I did finish the song, but I haven't recorded it yet, because I am going to have to try to figure out how to do it in a way that doesn't totally sound like crap. Because as I was saying earlier about not being good at editing, I'm also not a very good producer. So I can write the song, and I can compose the song, and I can sing the song, but getting the production aspect of the song out to make sure that like it sounds polished and it has like the right instruments and the right you know, mixing on it, that part is a lot harder for me. So that's the part that's probably going to take a minute for me to try to do. I do sing, yeah. Oh, I know, the student, the UCLA student that was crying because they had to use a different entrance. Yes. Yes, I do sing Nar. My Spotify, which you guys should also follow me there. I am singing in all those songs. Those are all my songs that I wrote and that I sing in. I hope so. I hope if I finish it and can get it up online that it can go, you know, it can be used really well, because I would love to be able to, like, the way that I wrote it was just about like the sickness of our culture and the greed of our culture and the enabling of genocide, and how we need to come together to stand up against that. Sorry, Christian soul. I know, Mo, you're right. And Justin, actually, you're right. On that note, I do need to go because I need to take my dogs out and need to do that. But yeah, if you guys hear of anybody, my ears are open. If you guys hear of any producers that are affordable that could help me put that track together, because the track is written, but I still need to record it in a way that doesn't sound really crappy. So yeah, I just need a good one. But I hope you guys like the song. You know what I'll do too? When I finish the song, and it shouldn't take that long to produce since I already wrote it, and I just need to sing it and then have it produced. What I will do is when I finish it, I'll show you guys first. I'll let all of you guys hear it first. Everybody in my Discord will hear it first, and you guys can give me feedback on it. But with that being said, I do need to take my dog out. So, all right, everyone. Definitely join the Discord. That is free if you can afford to. And there's like $3 tiers and $5 tiers. Join my Ko-Fi, which is just like, you know, it's kind of like Patreon to support me, but it's just a different website. And, you know, follow me on all other socials or whatever, and subscribe here if you haven't. And yeah, I will be working on the song, and yeah, when I start to finish it, I'll let you guys hear it and you can tell me what you think. Yes, translate the song into Arabic. Yes. Thank you, guys. All right, I'm going to let you go. If you have any suggestions for any producers or anything like that, send it to me in the Discord, and any bingo suggestions. And thank you guys for being a part of the stream. Thank you, everyone who gave super chats. I appreciate you all so much. And yeah, I will see you probably again. I think I'll do another stream on Thursday. So if you want... I'll do one on Thursday, and you guys can let me know if you want any specific thing covered or to talk about. All right, everybody. I love you guys. Thank you. And as always, free Palestine.